Mr. Sam Kando. He's in?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Mr. Sam Kando.
This black man, this black soul.
Thank you very much, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. I'd like, first of all, to acknowledge the parliamentary representative for West Bastille, the Honorable Congress Maynard, also the Director of People Empowerment and Diasporic Affairs, Mr. Duncan Buckley, who is also a cultural activist, Mr. Cretton Pension, a cultural activist, Samuel Duggins, who is both a social and cultural activist, and when I came, the Ambassador of Youth and Cultural Affairs, Mr. General Paulo speaking. I think he has left, but I'd like to acknowledge him in his absence. I would like to really welcome all of you here to this meeting this afternoon, this annual event, and to commend and congratulate and compliment the Nyabingi movement for their continued efforts in keeping this event alive. I want to submit and to suggest that the 1935 event, Buckley's event, 1935, 81 years ago, in my view, my humble view, is the single most important event that has shaped and influenced the political, social, and economic development of this country. And so, as we celebrate it this year, under the theme, Valuing Our Past, I would like for us to reflect on what took place some 81 years ago. It is important to do that because if we are to value the past, we have to understand it. We have to learn from it. And I want to suggest to you that the lessons learned are many. Many lessons were learned of the 1935 uprising. And in doing so, I want to applaud and commend the brave warriors for their courage and their commitment and their conviction of a better way of life for our people. Most people, or I should say some people, who want to venture to say most, but some people see the 1935 uprising as mainly an economic affair where people were struggling, fighting for an increase in wages and that kind of thing. But I contend that it was more than that. It was a response by our people then, our forebears, to the marginalization of our people in all areas of life. And so this was a response of our people to the upliftment, the general upliftment of the welfare of our people, total and absolute. It wasn't just an economic response. It was a response to the monoculture, the imposition of the monoculture of the sugar industry that strangled the development of our people. And so the 1935 uprising was a response to that. And out of that, like I said, we had the bravery and the courage of our people, but out of that came many developments and many benefits. The economic benefits were, of course, very obvious, but there were many other benefits. For example, in terms of education, before that, before the 1935, our people, like they say, were educated from their neck down. And that brought about an awareness of the importance of education for our people. That education was supposed to be the social mobility of our people. And that is why in 1960s, when we had the comprehensivization of our education system, it was no accident. That was as a result of the demands made by our people in 1935. And so, as a result of that, ordinary folks like us could come to occupy the highest offices of this land. Crusader told you about in the past where we had the governors were imposed upon us from abroad. And when in the 1950s, we had demonstrations against governors sent here from Britain, governors like Greenwich and Blackburn. It was as a result, it didn't just happen like that. It was a result of the lessons we learned from 1935. Our people had learned all those lessons. And so by the 1950s, we were able to demonstrate and to say to our colonial masters that we will not accept that kind of governance. The governance must be people-centered, and we must have an input into the people that govern us. So there were not only economic benefits, but political benefits, educational benefits, health benefits. In fact, I don't know of any other country in the Caribbean that has the number of health centers dotted around the entire country. And that again came out of the struggles and the uprising of 1935. And that is why we were able to lead the Caribbean and the third world, and maybe even the first world, in terms of having almost 100% immunization against diseases like smallpox and measles and that kind of thing. We take all those things for granted. But those were the benefits and the lessons learned from 1935. And that is why when we promoted St. Kitts as a place where investors could come to invest, we promoted our people as a healthy and educated people. That was the main attraction. And that is why we were able to lead again the OACS and the Caribbean in terms of being the country that exported to the United States more light manufacturing goods than any other country in the OACS and the Caribbean. That did not happen by accident. Because prior to that, coming out of the 1935, we were a monoculture where the only thing we produced was the sugar industry. Again, the housing revolution that started came out of the 1935 uprising. because I'm sure you're aware that as a result of 1935, the British government sent out as a response to the conditions then a Mowing Commission. And out of the Mowing Commission came the Trade Union Act that democratized the workplace. For the first time, people were able to negotiate their own wages and living conditions, working conditions, sorry. Before 1935, or up to 1935, that was unheard of. That was unheard of. And so people could now negotiate as a result of 1935 their wages and working conditions. One major benefit that came out of 1935 was the Land Acquisition Act. And that is why in 1975, the late Sir Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw came right here to Buckley's as a tribute to our forebearers to nationalize the lands in the name of the people. Before 1975, 75% of the lands were owned by 1% of the population. And that changed in 1975 when late Robert Bradshaw came here to nationalize the land in public interest. And so that again was as a result of the 1935 uprising of our people. And so we have a lot to be thankful for. We have a lot to be grateful for in terms of the contribution that those people made to our development. And so I believe the greatest tribute we could pay to the martyrs and the warriors of 1935 is to make sure that all the benefits and achievements that they fought and died for are maintained. Our democratic process, the way we are governed, our healthcare system, our education system, the lands are maintained in public ownership for the people of this country. And so, while it is important, and again, I mean, like I think Crusader or Duncan Watley was saying, we have heard in the past that there must be monuments built to these people. We must do something about this. But like I said, I believe the greatest tribute, the greatest monument that we could build to those folks who fought and died for our benefit is to make sure that the work they did, the benefits that were derived, the contribution that they made must continue in our lives, not only for now, but for generations yet unborn. If we do that, we'll be paying the greatest tribute to our forefathers. Thank you very much.
This black man, this black soul, this black heart, yeah! Chume black, chume black, chume black, chume black, chume black, chume black, chume black. And black is life, and black is life. Chume black, chume black, chume black, chume black, chume black. And black is life, chume black. Martin Luther fighting. Malcolm X fighting.
Okay. You might want to know what this is all about.
Vincent.
We
Stay
pause.
from the pole now. Come in from the pole now, please.
Sorry.
From the pole.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, we pause for a while. We have about 3 more presenters to come, but we pause for a while for the laying of the wheat. And this gentleman, he was.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
I'm here with my mom, Miss Sylvia Duggins, and her husband, my dad, Mr. Lawrence Duggins, the son of Virginia Greer, whose name is on the board out there and on the list. She was one who were in the team that struggled for our freedom, our rights to live as a people on this, country. So, on behalf of my dad, my grandma, Miss Virginia Greer, and my mom, I'm honored to be here this afternoon in this ceremony. And I too, is one who like to be involved in community activities. And if anywhere I can help, and as Mr. Duncan said, he's gonna put the force behind the authority to make sure that this site becomes a memorable site for our youths to pass by, and once we give them the education and the knowledge to know that what this site is all about, it will be a real memorable site for all. And I'm really honored, and I want to say thanks to the group and organization who has been fighting so hard over the years to make sure that this site and the event keep on going. Thank you.
Just give him.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vincent. And this is the wheat. And this is going to be the laying of the wheat. And we do it on that side over.
Up to Zion we go.
Over and under there. Hang it over. Yeah, always.
Morning rise and dawn on them take me down. Peter Tosh rise and dawn on them take me down. Shake up little rise and dawn them take me down. Down in silky rise and down, but look out, Morgan family come rise. And every rise to our uprising is the rise. And every rise to be surprising, Luciano rise. And every rise to be surprising. Rastafari come with so we come, all the children rise. And every rise to their uprising, Everton rise. And every rise to be surprising, put your rise. And every rise to be surprising, Rastafari royal children come, liberation. Whoa, chant, whoa, Rastaman chant, whoa, chant, liberation.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vincent, on behalf of Mama. Yes, we're going to move forward and we're going to call our brethren all the way from Nevis, from the One Love organization, also a member of the Nyabingiada, Mr. Ras Irai.
Greetings in the name of the Divine Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie and Empress Menenai, great ancestors great gods and goddesses of the ancient black eternal race. It's a delight for I to be here to bring a few utterances, the occasion. I will have to go and check the history to see where I might have been connected in some way. But we know, it's just a different trip, different ship, all one people. And so I'm sure I could find some kind of connection to the whole event and activity here. But even so, my connection is really attached to the whole struggles of the people. And it's really on that platform which I really want to stand today, tonight, this evening and recognize the persons who would have been a part of this uprising, because it took real guts and courage at them times to make a move like that. And so I want us to recognize first and foremost the persons who would have lost their lives. It's really sad that I had to have lost our life just to attain I rights and I just. Secondly, the persons who would have been injured and the family and friends who, some of them are with us today. I want to say, I wish things were different and we would have met on a different occasion. But let's use the occasion to take ourselves forward. Because if this was 1935, if right now was 1935, how many of us would have been rioting? How many of us would have really stood up for our rights? Because we see our ancestors, forefathers, who made that move 81 years ago. And today we need to ask ourselves, where have we come from? And at what position we are now? What have we done? How have we advanced from what our forefathers would have said 1935? Because it is okay to come here every year and pay tribute. And it is our duty as a people, and especially as Rastafari. At this point, let me stop and, let's give an applause for the Nyabingi Tiakosiada.
Yeah, man.
Because in spite and despite all the struggles and fight down, today we are still here at the forefront with this ideation. And that could only be courage. And that's one example of what we would have done as a result of 1935. And very few people can boast of that. So give thanks to Rastafari. But the riot was basically the uprising because of the injustices. Other people were going through some serious times. And that was the turning point. And so as a result of that, many things today we are benefiting from. Because when you open the gate, a lot of things, a lot of opportunities happen. And all we needed was the gate to be open. But I seriously want us to take 1935 into context and ask ourselves, how are we living amongst each other as a people, so that we could now today show how we would have advanced and how we would have kept that unity and that brotherhood alive. Are we really proud today to say that we are so united with that cause? Are we stand so politically and religiously divided as a people? Are we still allowing the same obstacles that our people were facing in 1935 to still have the same effect on us today? We cannot allow that. we have to, as the Rastaman would say, we have to burn the segregation and burn the political divide and burn the class, because class caused that. What class? We were created equal. You know, some of I and I would have advanced to different levels, but the lion is not more important than the farmer. And we have to live with that concept. I'm a Newcastle boy and we learn when the plane pass, we never talk. You know, and we can go on and on. And I can ask a question today because it is one of the things that would have generated from 1935. We are our unions. I have worked in the hotel industry for years, and I can speak of the injustices that exist here today. The unequal wages. As a manager at a hotel, my wage didn't compare with the expert manager who did the same work, and it still exists today. So how far have we really advanced? Let us come together as a people and really mean what we say. Because when we look around today at this area, I mean, it's the first time I'm actually coming here. And I really didn't recognize it. I sort of find my way around, you know. But it is really a shame 81 years after, this is where we are. You know, who do we blame? Or do we want to play the blame game? But let us today, we've heard of some commitments, we heard of people who would have commit themselves to assist in various ways. And I know the Nyabinghi Siada has been advocating for a monument. We need to have the things amongst us so that our children can run around and see them and associate with them and ask the questions. And well, I heard your great-grandmother was a part of this. Tell me about it. We have to give them that opportunity because that is how the history really sinks in. You know? A monument though is just, well, basically a more physical. But unless we implement the educational aspect of it, and someone who can make the dots, you know, and connect history with now and then and where we need to take it, you know, that is the sort of program we have to set to this activity. Do we go as far as a holiday or a half holiday? If this move today is so significant in the lives of our people, I don't want to speak about the other things that we pay too much attention to and give holidays for. But I am just saying, 1935 is just, it is a just cause. As equal or even more equal. There's the cause for consideration. Please, politicians, stakeholders, let us take it to that level. You know, because I think that's where we really need to have it. It should be printed on all our national calendars. Our youths in school should see it every day. But more importantly, I think the unity and the camaraderie that was displayed in 1935 is what we need as a people to take us out of this mess. I give thanks for your time. One perfect minute.
They give thanks, Irai. And our another presenter, may I see him. Yes, yeah, he's an author, he's a poet, and he's many other things. Mr. Kotti, or Kochi, give thanks.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Greeting in the name of His Imperial and Her Imperial Majesty.
Come inside the light.
You know how it is,
Yeah,
King with the Queen. Every time stepping with our left foot forward, trampling the evil. I'm just gonna follow suit on my brethren, what I write. Blessed love to everyone, the dignitaries, the elders, everybody else, blessed. Up, your mighty race, for you can accomplish all what you will. And the reason why I'm starting with that is because for too long we have forgotten the contribution of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And Marcus Mosiah Garvey was one of the great instruments into what happened here, CMA. And you know, for 81 years of us understanding what happened here on this ground, and this is all that we have for 81 years, is no respect to our ancestors. Since we came here from Africa on those ships, and we was brought here, brutalized, our women victimized, the strength of our man cut short. And in 1935, we decided to rebel. For the knowledge of self was important. For the knowledge of self, 81 years now is not so important. And I'm looking at everyone and I see blackness to the fullness. But how much of us are connecting our blackness, are embracing our blackness? For it's not 400 years of history that we have. We have 10,000 years of history. Plus. For Ethiopia waits the kings and queens. For we know all these things. But for too long we have become so westernized. Western clothes, Western thinking, everything Western. Now we have Western shooting. And we have to understand, again, what happened then in 1935 sparked the fuel 2 years after for Marcus Mosiah Garvey to come here on the 2nd of November. And you know, for me, we say country above self, but how much of us understand the fullness of that? Just yesterday, someone gets shot down in the street in Mansion, where I reside. It was my duty. I'm not in no war, because I love blackness to the fullness. But it was my duty not to just see the young brother there just lying. I had to try to do something. And being a CPI instructor, I did what was necessary. Unfortunately, he passed forward. So I'm saying to everyone here, I'm a spiritual person, I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. You understand? For before 400 years of colonialism and all this ism and schism, we as African people were living side by side, amalgamating our cultures. And I'm fed up of big people in this time looking and wondering what to do, and we have to be more proactive and less reactive. For reactive is explosion, you know. Proactive is creation, is creating things. So I'm not gonna stay here for too long, for I could speak forever. But I just want you to not take me simple and take this thing serious. The only way that we can save the youths, if we understand again what happened in 1935. And it wasn't just a spark of fire here. There was brethren and sistren, our ancestors moved around the island to see what's going on, comparing wages and all these things. And out of all this, we were able to start to be about nation building. We are no nation today because we have forgotten. And we have something like, to me, anytime I'd say blackness, people try to bow. Marcus Garvey say your blackness is not a badge of shame, but it's honor. And we have to start to be more honorable. It took me a while if I did enough crazy things, but it took me a while to mature and to observe and to sharpen my own intellect, not only in terms of Western education, but in terms of my African self. And that is why I am proud, despite of, you know, not having all the materialism in the world. But I know self, and I have self-confidence. And enough of our people are not self-confident. As far as I see, we have this thing within us which have become a part of our culture. And a lot of us play blind eye to it. And you know what it is? No sense of forgiveness. We don't like to forgive, but we forgive colonialism, imperialism, white supremacy, all these things. You understand? And we forget that we as a people have to be a nation again. How is a nation built? Collective organization. And that is what Marcus Garvey did. In 1937, the 2nd of November, Marcus Garvey landed here. He said it wasn't easy to get on shore, but he tell the people in St. Kitts that this is a Garden of Eden. You know? And, you know, I spent most of my life living outside of St. Kitts. And when I reached an age where I was mature enough, and knowledgeable enough, and confident enough, I say, you know what, let me come back a yard. Let me come SK. So from SK is Africa. We have cut the umbilical cord of that connection with our African self. And again, we as a people have to make that connection and bridge the gap. Our educational system is just Western teachings. Our TV station is just Western thinking. There's so much black authors and thinkers out there that are doing so much work despite the struggle. And we are not even using our medias and our platform to highlight those things. But we look at the children when they be Westerners now with the shooting cowboy style and wondering what is going on. For we have not advanced any way forward from 1935 until now. I just don't want us to deal with this thing in the sense of symbolism, because symbolism only goes so far. But we have to amalgamate the teachings of the elders